This episode is brought to you by Calle Visions, a full-service podcast and content studio in Stamford, Connecticut. If you're looking to get your podcast started or are a seasoned veteran looking to upgrade, Calle Visions is the place to elevate your audio-visual needs. You can reach them at Calle Visions on Instagram or at www.gallevisions.com. Thank you to our season sponsor, Mary's Alfajores. They are melt-in-your-mouth sweet treats. Alfajores are a South American traditional cultural pastry treat filled with manjar, a thick, creamy caramel made from milk and sugar spread, sandwiched by two delicious, soft and delicate cookies that in combination melt in your mouth. If you're looking to impress with some cultural variety in your dessert tray, reach out to Mary's Alfajores as they service the Westchester, Fairfield County area and are readily available for catered events. You can reach Mary's Alfajores on Instagram at Mary's Alfajores. Mary's Alfajores, crafted with love, inspired by tradition. Hi everyone, I am Esther, and welcome to the From the Ground Up with Esther podcast, a podcast about growth, resilience, faith, and building a life with intention. This space is for anyone who's starting over, rebuilding, or taking the next step, one story and one lesson at a time. Let's get into the conversation. Hi, Jordan and Cecilia. How are you guys doing?
Hi, Esther. Good.
Hi, Esther. We're doing well.
Yeah.
Doing great.
We're excited to have you. So John and Cecilia and I met at a farmer's market in Stamford back in the summer of last year.
Yes.
And I was just looking around and I needed some coffee. It was my first time at the farmer's market. And when I saw John and Cecilia, they were very friendly. They gave me that, you know, how people say that good energy.
Yeah.
And I got very curious of their journey. So I started following them on Instagram. And I saw that they were from Guatemala. Their heritage is Guatemalan, and they were selling their coffee. And I've seen that they have grown. And I want to learn a little bit more about your story. Here, I like to share a story that inspire us, right? And not just us, but our other people that can see where you come from, how you got to what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
But there's always a story behind it, that from the ground up. So
Absolutely.
yeah, welcome and share with us how you know, the story behind.
How it all started?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So everything started a little over a decade ago. I met my wife at a coffee shop, but before that moment, I had no idea that I came from a family of coffee. Both my parents are Guatemalan. I'm first generation American, and thanks to my wife, I've ended up finding out about the coffee culture in the family. So it all started with me not going to school, me stopping college for the moment. And finding work to help out my parents. At the time, my father had cancer. He had melanoma cancer. And he was at help me with this, please. Smilo. The Smilo Center. And it all started with a coffee bag. That's when I first heard about the family culture and the coffee. My father's a Q grader, which I always love to explain. So a coffee grader is basically someone who grades the coffee, the quality of the coffee. That's what my father did back home. I didn't know about my mom's side of the coffee culture until I met my wife. So I met my wife at a coffee shop. Between that time, my wife ended up finding out about the coffee history on my mother's side. I had no idea about. So my father was a Q grader. My mom was a coffee sorter and picker. So my mom picked the cherries and she sorted them, meaning she picked out the ripest cherries, and anything that was overripe or underripe she took out. And that's what my mom did. I had no idea until I met my wife. She shared that story with my wife. So she ended up sharing that story, and I did a little bit of research on myself about the history in our family. So my mom at the time, she's from Guatemala. She's from San Marcos, Guatemala, which there was a civil war going on at the time. I had no idea about the Civil War. My mom never really spoke to me about back home. She never really mentioned anything, neither did my father. So all this was new to me. I remember when my wife came up to me and told me about the family history. I had no idea. So,
I was like, did you have any idea?
yeah, I literally had no
It's-
idea.
It's good that you mentioned your wife because you say you didn't know. So can you share how was it that you started to find out about the story of the coffee?
Oh yeah, I mean, we started dating, right? And as we were dating, I got to know his mom and the family, and I just gained a really good relationship with my mother-in-law. Like, she's literally another mother to me, but we just clicked from the start. So, as we also were getting to know more about our heritage, because I'm also Guatemalan, that's when she just kind of told me like how she grew up, what she used to do, how she was raised. And that's when I came about all that information with the coffee because, we met at the coffee shop as well. So it was just kind of like a big, wow.
So were you the one who inspired him to start the company?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yes, absolutely.
I was like, it's something that we both enjoy. I started off as a barista, just as a regular job, but I ended up really loving it and getting to know a lot about it. And so did he. And then on top of that, we started to love our culture more. Like he mentioned, he's first generation, so am I. And we don't hear too much about back home. So, once that little bit of curiosity, hits, you're just like, okay, I want to know more. I want to get into it. And that's really what happened with not only our Guatemalan roots, but with the coffee culture.
Wow. So when she told you about the story of the coffee that your mom shared with her, what was your first thought and how do you realize that's something you wanted to pursue?
Like I didn't know my mom in a good way, and nothing bad. I had no idea. It was a surprise to me. It took me back, because I never really knew how my parents met. You know how we all know, like, somehow how our parents met, like their love story. I had no idea. And what ended up adding fuel to what we do now was because my parents met in the coffee industry, right? So I mentioned the Civil War that was going on. My grandfather would, when he cultivated the coffee, he would bring the coffee to my father. He worked at a coffee company, and he did all the buying, right? All the Q grading, all the approvals, and that's how he knew my grandfather. So when my parents had to, when my mom and my grandfather had to leave their town, my grandfather asked my father if there was any work. And he of course, he said yes. And my mom had experience in the field, right? My grandfather told him, she picks and sorts the coffee, and they needed somebody right in that section, that department of the industry at the time, and that's how they met. I had no idea. So once I learned their story on how they met and why they came here, I looked over at my wife and I was like, oh, like, that's awesome. Isn't that how we met too? Ironically, isn't that how full circle, how everything comes
like we
around?
gotta do something.
Like, we have to do something, right? Since being first generation American, I was going to school, and my parents were always about, being in the high risers, being in a corporate world, because education was something that they missed out on. They have some education, but it's not all the education they wanted. So they were cut short. So of course they want us to go out and live the dream and live the best life that we possibly can with their sacrifice. So that ended up adding a lot of fuel for us because we don't know where we come from, right? We know who we are in the sense of our culture and and whatever little bits our parents give us, but who are we truly?
Yeah.
And then that sparked the soul searching with us, right? And that for me, it was big, right? Because who am I, right? I know I'm first generation American, but who truly am I?
Yeah.
Who truly are you? And that's what I had the conversation with my wife about. And I said, you know what? This is something we have to do. Like, there's nothing out there that represents us. There's nothing out there that represents the farmers that are out in Guatemala.
Yeah.
So that's truly what we want to do. We wanted to go out and pursue something that no one has done yet, right? And thanks to my grandfather, who, God rest his soul, he really gave me and my wife a lot of information. He gave us a lot of information to, that you normally don't get, right, from going to certain schools, right, to going from certain coffee things. Like, he gave us like real on the ground,
like raw information.
raw
Like the
information.
real.
Yeah. So he's the one that inspired us to go for the microlots because of all the microlots and all the farmers that he, helped out throughout that, and my great grandfather too. So I'm 5th generation coffee.
Yeah, that's
and
great to hear, because it is true. A lot of times we don't know the story behind our parents, how they met, and that's the communication, right?
Yes.
And I'm grateful that, good for you that your wife was able to have that relationship with your mom and learn that about your history.
Yeah.
So now that you guys do this together, how was that first experience? Because you pushed him to search for this background story in his life and his family. How was that first experience of deciding, when you decided that you wanted to do this or help him? Maybe Cecilia could.
Oh. Well, it really was like trying to figure out what exactly we were going to do, how we were going to do it. And by that, I mean, like, okay, are we going to own a coffee shop, or are we going to do a trailer? Are we, it was just like the ideas were all over, kind of, you know. And we knew a little bit here and a little bit there. And then when we really narrowed it down, we realized we weren't too familiar with roasting coffee. We had a lot of knowledge on the growing and the farming and all of that stuff. And then we had a lot of knowledge on making the drinks and, like the output, right? Yeah. But not the in between, not before that and not after, the growing of the beans. So we were like, okay, what about like roasting coffee? Why don't we teach ourselves how to roast? And so we started trying to create relationships with, first trying to find people in Guatemala who will give us a chance, send us samples, and little by little we tried so many different coffees, so many different farms. And along with that, we were teaching ourselves how to roast, how to do all of this, because we don't know anything, so
yeah,
it was like, it was just one of those things that we really enjoyed doing, but we knew that we had to do that. Like, it was just better control as well when you're the roaster.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's good. And
I don't know if you want to add to it.
No, I mean, just to add to what you were saying, we were trying to find ourselves, like, where do we line up with the family history, right? My great grandfather was the farmer, right? My other grandfather, he was the cultivator, right? Everyone had a place in the industry, right? My father was the Q grader, although he wasn't, he was separate from my mom. He added that value, right? Being the Q grader, and then my mom being the picker and the sorter. And back then I don't know if there was baristas back in Guatemala during those times, but I knew that we needed to. Well, we figured out that we needed to find our own place in this story, right? In the legacy, like, where do we fit in? And of course, because we're first generation Americans, we're always accustomed to finding our own way, right? Creating our own paths, So my wife, she was already the barista, right? She already had the skills to make the drinks. So did I. I learned, and my wife was the one that said, "Oh, why don't you roast? Why don't you complete the legacy by roasting? Because after that, what is there left to do?" So I said, "Okay, let's do that." And then I went on, I went on the ship and sailed, and I learned a lot on my own. Everything that my grandfather taught me. I took some of that information as well as my dad and my mom, and I pieced everything together, right? Just like how our parents did, right? Because that's always been the motivation. How do they piece everything? So I ended up figuring out how to piece everything together, and from there we're trying to figure out, the microlots that we can work with and establish that relationship with. And of course, it wasn't easy, but what is?
I know it's not easy to start a business. You have to be brave enough to do it yourself, right? And learn, because I can see it was a learning process for both of you and going home and learning about all this process. So
Yeah.
can you tell us what is On the Brew Coffee Company now? How do you guys, your business model?
Business model. So, on the Brew OTB, we're all about it, the experience, right? We want to bring from seed to cup, right? We want to literally give you the experience of what true coffee tastes like, right? We want to be able to share the experience of
Our culture.
our culture, right? Give you that experience from our culture and truly educate people on what coffee truly is. It's just not a cup of coffee, right? We want to be able to educate people on the true love that the farmer gives the plant from the very, very, very beginning and throughout the whole process until, the coffee's in your cup. So it's just giving you that culture experience, not just Guatemalan, and eventually, we're going to, go to other countries, but we want to keep the same concept. We want to keep that same experience, helping out the micro lots, keeping their legacy the same way that we were able to preserve our legacy. We want to be able to continue that legacy for the farmers as well. So our thing is always giving, not just giving back, but, being able to help those that are not seen yet, just like how we weren't seen at first, but,
Or
now.
those overlooked as well.
Yeah, those overlooked.
For those that don't know what a micro lab is, that the word?
Micro lab.
Yeah.
Can you explain what is a micro lab?
So a micro lot is not like a finca. It's not a farm. It's like a mini farm, right? To just give people the visual. It's it's a plot of land, right?
It's like a lot within a larger farm. So where they might grow other vegetables or other produce, anything like that, anything extra, really. There is like a section, a lot just for coffee.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what micro lots are.
Okay.
And there's a lot. The work is a lot. They have more careful work. Like they pick ripe beans. They don't, anything overripe or underripe. They don't process, right? They stick with the quality. So this is the reason why we also pick the micro lots, because of the quality and just the care that the farmer gives the plants. It's just not, let's just strip the plant and let's give the people what we have and give them anything. Like, that's the reason why we went with micro lots. We want to also preserve the flavors and everything that a micro lots offer. And not just that, but we want to be able to give people the true experience of real coffee without having any of the side effects.
No, that's good. Yeah. And I to go back to what you were mentioning earlier, Cecilia, about you were a barista, you learned about coffee, and now this gave you the opportunity to actually own your own company alongside John, your husband. Yeah. What is something you have seen in our culture that you want to teach with your coffee? We talked about this before. I remember you mentioning when we had another conversation that a lot of times our culture doesn't know what to order. We go to the coffee shop and we say, we always say a cappuccino because that's the only thing we know how to order. But there's so much that you can actually do with coffee.
No, yeah, for sure. I guess, educating our people. They're so used to just working, and they think of something like coffee as just coffee. Like, it's just a job. They do it, and then they drink it. Like, it's not. I don't think they realize how in depth it goes, like how much is behind it. So just bringing that to light, just kind of like also showing them that, like showing them like the fruit of their labor, and if it might not just be them, but it's like these are our people doing this, and it's like you're included in that as well. But like educating them, they deserve the same leisure that we do or anybody else does walking into a coffee shop. Like, we want to give them that comfort, like get to know coffee, what is a latte? What is a cappuccino? Like, so it's just educating them and making them feel more comfortable, making them feel like they belong, they don't just work the farms. Like, no, you can enjoy this as well.
That's important. I like that you say that because a lot of people that come to this country had a life back home, right? You were explaining about your mom, your grandpa, and like you're saying, for them to experience the fruit of their labor,
Yeah.
especially I'm from South America, you're from Central America, Guatemala. So your background, your mom's background says a lot, right? She probably never got to experience the way we experience coffee right now. And you're giving people that opportunity at the moment, bringing that here all the way from Guatemala,
Yeah.
right? And you yourself going back home and experiencing how that is harvested and doing all of the process.
Yeah.
And can you talk to us, John, a little bit about your mom? Because you have shared about her before, how she inspired you. And I think that is a very important part of your story as well.
No, absolutely. Yeah, right. Oh, wow. It's emotional because my mom is somebody who told me to be resilient, right? She always figured out a way, right? I don't know what she went through back home because she still hasn't shared that with us. But I'm sure, right, through doing some research and seeing videos and certain pictures, I could just imagine what she's seen as a child, right? And how that didn't break her, right? Her story is unique to me, right? But just to know how strong-minded my mom is and how she would always figure it a way, right? And I never forget, my mom would work with what she had, right? So that was an inspiration also on how we started on the brew, because of my mom, right? So my mom, to make ends meet, like anybody else, right? Everybody has 2 jobs now, maybe 3. But my mom, she figured out, okay, there's a lot of people from back home who don't have the food, right? There was no foods at the time that represented our culture. Like there was no one making if they were making the food, they weren't making it as good. So my mom started making tamales from home, right? She would do her own ingredients. She would do everything from scratch. And everything started from like Tuesday, right? On Tuesday, Monday, she would put everything together. Tuesday, she would start prepping. Wednesday was pretty much getting all the seasonings. And then all the way until Friday, she'll be making, her recados, making the masa. And my father would help her out, right? After he was done doing both his jobs, right? But she was the inspiration behind this because of what she went through, right? Her life stopped when that civil war started to grow in her town. Because when she would tell my wife about the story, she would always talk about how she loved doing what she did, right? Although at the time, women weren't really viewed a certain way. My her grandfather, right, saw that he was ahead of his time. He saw something in my mom that no one else in my family had. But everybody's blessed. Everybody has their own way. But he wanted to teach my mom the business, right? Making her like the first, what she would say, the first woman to really run a lot, right? Run a coffee farm, right? Not just coffee, but other vegetables and plants. But she was the true inspiration behind OTB and everything that she did. And, I'll never forget, we didn't live in the best neighborhood. For people who are familiar with Stanford, it's when I was growing up, it was called the South End, right? But now it's known as Harbor Point. And I'll never forget, and this is how tough my mom is. My mom used to sell anywhere between 3,000 to 6,000 tamales on a weekend, right? People from New York, New Jersey, from all over the tri-state would come see her. And as a little kid, I used to help her, do the seasonings. She would involve me in some way just to get me doing things. And that's what made me fall in love with how we do things now, because it always brings me back to that point when I was a child. So I'm always reminiscing, right? Even now at my age. But my mom would always, I would help her bag up the tamales. All right, we need 10 here, we need 15 there, we need 20, 25. The pollo, the cerdo, right? Chicken and pig, the oreja. There was many different tamales, right? And as a kid, I was 5, and my other brothers were help as well. And we're here bagging up tamales, giving it. My mom has a whole manufacturing going in the house that the city thought my mom was dealing drugs, right? Because it was a drug-infested area, right? And the house got raided, right? And I never forget, like, the cops came, right? This first time I had a barrel, and, I was in 6th grade, so I don't know how old you, like maybe 12, 13, 12, 11, 12. Remember I had a barrel of a gun in my face. They came in, they stormed in, and they were looking for everything, and they kept asking my mom what she was doing here, and my mom was like, tamales, food.
Wow.
And she just kept saying tamales, and they had no idea what that was. They were like, what the heck is that, cookies?
Yeah.
I'll never forget what they were saying, and I was like, no, tamales, and then they were like, show me, and then I would like, okay, this is the process, this is what we do, and then people come, my mom will cook it and pick it and go.
Yeah.
And they didn't find what they were looking for, obviously, because my mom wasn't doing that, right? And I'll never forget, my mom was like, okay, they think I'm doing something bad, and it just like fueled her. I don't know if it was like something from her past that she was like, now I'm in America where I can, I can do things, I could do something about it, right? And I won't be persecuted for it like back home, right? Because back home was different, right? She had to keep her head down.
Yeah.
Being here, she was able to keep her head up and say, you know what? Like, now I'm gonna do it more. Now I'm gonna do it more often. What else can I do? Because if they're watching me, that means how many more people are watching me too, and how many more people are doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that fueled her to do more things. And as a little kid, that was a moment in my life where I was like, wow, I need to be like that. I need to have what my mom has. I need to have that fire in me, right? No matter what happens, no matter what comes my way, I'm gonna figure it out, right? And I'm gonna make my way, just the way my mom made her own way, right? My mom made her, just to give a little context on that, my mom would make a repollo with her tamales, right? And anybody that lives in Stanford that knows my mom, or maybe they moved out and they hear this, they know exactly what I'm talking about, right? My mom was like, how can I stand out? Because everybody started doing it, right? Many people started making tamales. So how can my mom stand out? They didn't know my mom did everything from scratch. They would feel the love in the food, but how can I stand out? And my mom started making the repollo. So it's just a little condiment to have. Like, think about it like a hot dog, right? You put all the condiments, the ketchup, right? And every dog is different, right? Depending on what condiments you mix. So my mom ended up adding a condiment to make her stand out from the competition. Okay. So I take little bits and pieces of my mom and the way that she was able to work all the food with coffee, right? How are we gonna stand out? What's gonna make us unique that no one else is gonna have, right? And this starts from the roasting, right? This starts from the beginning, from the very beginning of having a relationship with the micro lot farmers, right? So you can't find the micro lot farmers that we have, you can't find anywhere else. So that's what really fuels everything, is just watching my mom from the very beginning as a kid when I was 5 years old, as far as I can remember, right? Maybe it was before then, but yeah, that's, she's, that's the inspiration behind her. And my father too, right? Because they worked together, right? My father was a mechanic. He taught himself to be a mechanic, and he did lawn work, right? So he was a landscaper. So he was a landscaper. Then he was a mechanic, and then he'll go home and help my mom mix the masa, right? And my dad never complained, right? Although he was working 18-hour days, my father never complained, right? He would ask my mom, hey, what do you need? All right, what are we doing? What's the plan? Like, seeing them work together.
And still
Now.
She still makes tamales.
Yeah, she's still, yeah.
And he's still there with the masa.
Yeah, he's still there going, right? After surviving cancer and COVID twice and everything, he's still helping my mom, right? And that is always a reminder for me, like, and for us, not to quit, right? No matter what burden we have, or if anybody tries to cut us off, or just we're at a dead end. All right, so do we need to knock this wall down? Do we need to go back around? Like, let's recap on what we need to do to keep going. Because, man, they're so inspirational, right? They're my heroes, right? Everybody asks me, like, who are your heroes? And my parents.
Yeah, no,
they're truly the inspiration behind everything that we do, and that's something they instilled in me without even knowing. That's what they were teaching me, right? I was just watching. Yeah. And I was just taken back by everything that they did. And yeah.
That's so good. That is an inspiration, right? And to go back to what you just said, not to quit, because you started this, you mentioned 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to see the fruit of your labor, because now your social media is growing. I can see you guys are doing pop-up shops and things like that. Can you take us a little bit back to after the inspiration of your mother, how you all started? How was that beginning process of going through the obstacles of starting the business? What is an obstacle that you had at the beginning that maybe someone else that wants to start a business is going through at the moment?
Oh,
that
man.
You can...
Yes.
Capital.
Yes, capital, of course, right? And that's everybody's issue, right? It's capital, or how am I going to do it? Like everybody starts to think about money, right? But no one starts to see what they have. What is it that you have? What is it that you're doing that is going to allow you to be able to get that capital, right? What can you utilize that you already have, and start from there? And that's what we did, right? Back to my mom, right, being the inspiration from cooking from home. Like, how can we start this coffee business, right? Since we want to be roasters, what can we do? And of course, we sat out. We were like, we're capable of making money and doing jobs, saving, and then going out there for us to give us an opportunity, which we did, right? That's how we started off. We were like, all right, we're going to start off the way everybody does. We're going to go out and try to find, but because what we were doing was so new, people didn't see the vision. People were like, what's that? Like, how are you going to make money, right? These are landlords talking to us like, well, how are you going to do it, right? I don't believe they were trying to put doubt in us, but it felt like there, it was a lot of doubt that was trying to be instilled in us. And I, have a thick skin. So I was like, all right, cool. Can't figure it out with you. I'm going to go figure out somewhere else. And I sat down one day, I looked at my wife and I said, we should do this from home. This is how we need to start, right? This is when my mom started. My mom started cooking from home. My mom didn't make an excuse. She said, I'm going to do this from home and I'm going to figure it out. So eventually that's what we did. I started to see what we have. So my parents live in a multi-family home, but they live in an industrial residential area. And I said, okay, well, we're in a place that we can do something. All right, so let me figure it out. So I started doing a lot of research, right, and a lot of reading. So I ended up figuring out that we can roast from home, right? That we can do this from home with a cottage food license. This is how we can start off. And then from here, we're going to grow. So we ended up utilizing everything we had. Okay, so then now what is it that I need? Okay, I need a roaster, right? I went to set out to go find a roaster that was home compatible, right? Making sure that I had everything that I needed to be able to run the roaster. And then from there, we started to experiment, right? We started buying little bins and then realizing, okay, we don't need little bins. We need bigger bins, right? We were thinking small, right? We had big dreams, but we were thinking small. And eventually we were like, all right, well, we need to buy storage. We need to buy different, we need to think big, right? Don't think small, because then it will be double the investment. So we started just realizing everything from home. And then, we started growing from there. We went through many different names. I mean,
names, logos,
slogans. You name it. We must have changed it 100 times. Not even lying to you. Like the whole process, we would come up with better names, better logos. We would just every single time, like, what is it that we can do? We were trying to find like the middle ground between, our culture and the culture that we live now, being first generation Americans. How can we intertwine both cultures into one? Like, how is it that we can figure that out? And we went through so many changes.
That's so interesting. Because we are, we're born here, but you also have your culture, and then I love the fact that we're immigrants in a different country, because we can be that bridge for both cultures to unite. And I think that's exciting and that's fun, because you can show what you love to other people that have no idea how everything works and the process, and they can taste something from you that comes from your heart. And this takes me back to Cecilia asking you, because you are the one that, help him start. What has been your favorite part about this whole process, and how have you grown?
Oh, I've grown a lot, and still growing a lot. Honestly, the just seeing how fast we've been growing has been mind blowing. Like, it's always been kind of like, I don't know. Not that I underestimated us. I always knew that we were gonna do great, just not this fast. So it's just been fun. Like, we have a lot of love for it. So there hasn't been anything negative about this whole experience or about this whole journey. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy what I do. I love making drinks, creating recipes. I really show my love for my coffee. I really the love shows in my coffee. So like, I really do put my all into it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything has just been great. I really have nothing negative to say.
Yeah, no, pretty sure.
I've enjoyed the ride, even when we were let down, because we were let down many times. A lot of people that,
what do you mean by
didn't give us like a chance. Like it starts all the way from like trying to find farms, like who's gonna actually believe that we can purchase this amount of coffee and like we can do our thing. Like people are looking for more right away, and we just didn't have that. So it was just like finding someone that is going to give us that chance.
Okay, can you go a little bit more in, explain a little bit more about the finding the farms?
Yeah.
How does that work? Because you said people that lay you down.
There are so many micro lots. There's a lot of people that do the same thing. Everyone obviously wants to get their product out, otherwise it's a waste. And then when it becomes a waste, they lose out on opportunity. And then we lose out on opportunity because we can't get that product and we want it. So when they're looking for someone to purchase their coffee, like they're trying to get as much as they can out. And us being new, freshly new, not really knowing much or not having the capital, it's difficult to kind of be like, I can get this. This is what we want. I can do that for you, but you just have to like give us that chance to do it. And so that's what I mean by like, just not having that in the beginning was very difficult. It took us a really long time.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, please.
So basically, when we were searching out for the farmers, they wanted us to buy a certain amount of coffee, right? Although it's their livelihood, they see it as the opportunity to go ahead and capitalize on that moment, right? It's not greed, because this is their livelihood. If they don't make money off of this, they lose out, right? They don't have jobs like us where we can like, all right, let's go apply for a job. Let's go here, let's go there. They don't have those opportunities. So the only opportunities they have is when somebody goes to establish that relationship with them and then buy coffee from them. The only downside to that is that because they want to capitalize, they want you to buy a lot of product. And if you don't have the money to buy a lot of product, they don't really want to deal with you, because maybe the next person that comes, they're going to be able to buy all the product, right? If they need 50 bags or 50 sacks of my coffee and I only have 40, in their mind, they're going to lose the deal because they can't produce the extra 10 or they don't have the extra 10. So we understood them business-wise. But, we were like, give us a chance, right? Like, give us one or two bags. Let's figure this out together. Like, I promise you we're going to come back. And, right, we were giving them the hope that we were going to come back, right? They may have heard that maybe 100 times before we even showed up to their doorstep. But eventually somebody did give us that chance, right? Someone said, okay, let's work, right? They understood the mission. We sat with them. We told them everything about us. And he took us in essentially, right? So that was like the hardest part, was trying to find the micro lot. And, like you mentioned before.
How long did it take you to find it? A few
years. So investing wise and like buying and phone calls and all the in between, 6 years.
6 years.
And although we were doing this for a little over a decade, we decided to go ahead and say, you know what? We can figure everything else out, but if we don't have the product, we don't have anything. So let's pause everything that's around us. And once we get this missing piece, then I'm pretty sure we'll figure out the rest. Yeah. And sure enough, once we found the micro lot, once we found a guy that said, okay, here's a bag or two, right? So let me see what you can do.
It was game on.
I was like, oh, this is it. Like, in the movies when that life-changing moment comes where everything slows down, and like, it kind of like takes you third person, like they back up the camera and the person's like, whoa, that's what that moment, I'll never forget it. Like, I still get goosebumps, right? Because the guy said, all right, 2 bags. And I mean, even now, like, I'm losing my words just because when you have so many doors not open for you, or I should say many doors do open, but they don't stay open, right? You get burnt out. right? You don't, doubt doesn't creep in at all, at least for us. But the burnout, like how much more can I take of, like how many more no's can I take of this, and how much harder do I need to work, because I'm constantly working with around the farmers' times, right? Taking days off, having phone calls with 6-7 different farmers, and not getting the consistency with the coffee they're sending us, and like how many more times are we gonna get burnt, right? It gets to a point where when somebody finally gives you that opportunity, it adds, it brings out another side of you that you didn't even know you had. And for us, it was that moment, like, all right, let's see what we can do from this. And we literally got on that one horse and just went down the road. And then from that, we started thinking like how we're going to get more microlots. And sure enough, all we did was ask the questions. Because if you don't ask, you'll never know, hey, do you recommend anybody else? Is anybody else out there? And the fact that that farmer was a people person, meaning like he wasn't going to gatekeep us from trying to not just grow, but from having somebody else grow, spoke a lot about him, right, and his family. And I was like, oh my God, they were meant just for us. So when we were able to find the other micro lot, they had the same vision. And I was like, oh, once you find that one person that gives you that yes, they're going to match you. And then from there, they're going to be able to, you're going to be able to expand into other rooms that normally you wouldn't have been able to have an opportunity to be in, but someone made it possible, right? Someone gave us that key, and we're thankful for that. Because 6 years, people don't think about it, but that's a long time, right? That's 60 months, 72 months, right? That's a long time. Think about how many hours, how many days, right? But once we finally were able to find the farmer, from there, we established that relationship. And this is the reason why when people ask us, hey, what, because a lot of coffee companies, they give you the farms, the names, the locations. We don't do that. And it's not because we don't want to, we're not doing anything wrong. It's just like if somebody asks you for your recipes, would you give them? Right? You won't. You're not going to give them because that's something that you work, that's been handed down to you. So after thousands of dollars of our own investing money, we're not ever comfortable giving out our farms. A lot of people are like, oh, well, that means that, we get that kickback like, oh, it's so, then that means it's not growing in high altitude. No, you have to grow coffee in high altitude. It has to be grown a certain way for you to get this kind of coffee. Don't be tricked by the media or, where you're reading. But yeah, it's something that we take a lot of pride in. And after so many years, we're definitely gonna, he's mine, right? All these lots are mine. They're really not, because they do other business with other people, but they do business in Europe. They don't do a lot of business in the US.
Okay.
So we're one of the few. Go ahead, sorry.
So no, it's okay. Because I'm learning, right, how all this works. I don't know much about coffee. I usually just get my coffee from the store, brew it, and then that's it, and I drink it, right? I don't know how it gets here. So it's interesting that you're explaining all of this. And can you explain a little bit more on that? So you get the farmers, then you have to bring it here, ship here, and then you roast it. So can you tell us how does that work?
So the farmer, they have all the connections, right? We don't have the connections nor the money to bring it here on our own. We do pay the fee for someone to bring it here. And when I mean someone, I mean a company, right? But the farmer takes care of that. They do all the logistics on their end to get it sent here, and then we just pick it up. That's how that works, right? But eventually, we want to get into that ourselves, but not at the moment. We're trying to establish OTB right now. But they send us a sample, and then we cup it, right? We roast it and we cup it. What I mean by cupping, so we pretty much try to figure out the notes that the coffee has, right? So like our medium roast has hints of lime, caramel,
roasted nuts and maple syrup,
right?
Sounds yummy.
Yeah, but everybody's different. Everybody's palate is different. Some people may taste other things. Some people may taste the notes, right? But that's
you
what
might
we
even
do.
smell some sometimes.
Yeah, when we're roasting or grinding it. Yeah, you're able to smell the notes. But we do the cupping, and then from there we know how to roast the coffee. We know, we figured all that out, and then we put our order in, and usually we give them an estimated amount of how much coffee we're gonna want, and then we set that order in place, and then they ship it over to us, and then we go and pick it up.
And how long does it take for that whole process?
The harvest, every country's different. Every country's different. Because it also depends on the region. It also depends on the weather. There's a lot of variables.
Drying process.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, the different drying processes. Because there's a washed, there's a natural, and there's a honey process. So the wash process is they take the cherries, they clean out the entire cherry, they dry it out, and once it's dried, they send it to the mill, they deparch it, and there's like a cocoon for the beans. The best way I can explain it, the cherry, the seeds, and then they deparch, and then it's set to be roasted. The natural, the cherry gets it gets sun dried, right, with the cherry complete, and then it gets cleaned off. Same way as the wash, it gets cleaned off, or the parchment, and then gets into the mill. The honey process, that's the unique part of the honey process. That's totally different. They only take off the skin of the cherry, and then they let the mucilage, the
it's like the outer sticky layer of the bean, like the in between the cascara, the skin and the
Cascara
seed.
skin,
Yeah. So that gets sun dried, and then that has a whole totally different flavor profile. So those are the different processes, and it all depends on the plants too, right? There's many different plants, different variety of plants. There's other plants that are growing on lower altitude that have higher caffeine, and then some of that are growing on higher altitude. It all depends on what you're looking for in the different countries that you're
Like right
you're
now,
getting your coffee.
in some areas they're picking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
They're picking. Yeah, like right now,
Yeah,
and then
they're harvesting,
maybe
yeah.
sometime in like May they'll be at a different region. They'll be picking. Like the harvest is ready there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like
So
it
you have
varies.
you have gone over there and to see how they do all of this too, right? Because you had explained
Yes,
to
we
me.
went last February.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does the coffee grow? Is it a cherry? Because you said cherry. For those of us that don't know, like I said, so it grows like a cherry bean.
Yeah.
Well, so it grows out like a plant. It takes about 3 years
Yes. To produce.
to produce the actual coffee cherries, but grows up just like a plant, and then it develops this flower, which looks like, we like to compare it to like the Guatemalan orchid. It's white, tiny. I don't know how to explain it, but it looks like a little mini orchid, and it grows along the branches of the plant. And the farmers go every day to check on them to see if they've sprouted and to make sure that they're still on. But once they start seeing that the flowers are falling
They're falling off.
is when they know that it's going to be a good harvest.
Yes, because those.
And the plant is ready now to produce its cherries.
Yeah.
So we got to see some of those, and then we got to see cherries that were ready to pick. We picked our own, so we got to do that. We got to work with the farmers, and which was very difficult labor.
Yeah.
Just like up in volcano territory.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The outskirts of the volcano, you literally have to climb up, and
How long did it take you to climb up?
but like
For them, it could be like 5
oh my
minutes.
god, yeah, they walk
for
up there
them,
like it's nothing.
Yeah, for them it's super easy,
For us,
but
it took us a little
like 20, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Because of the
I'll say 30,
altitude.
yeah.
Yeah, like 30 minutes, because the higher we go up, right, the elevation, it's a little harder to breathe,
Yeah.
especially if you're not in shape.
Yeah.
And when we went with the farmer, he was just
We
it was
just
like
did
Mario.
not expect
We
it
didn't
to
expect
be like that
Intense.
intense.
Yeah, it was super intense, and he was just whoop, whoop. He was like, the Mario the game. He's just how Mario just jumps everywhere, and he's like, like that's how he was. He was
He was
just
like, "Follow
going-
me."
Yeah, he was like, follow me, until he realized that we couldn't follow him anymore. But yeah, it brought us a different view of the love that the farmers give to the plants, right? Because there's the beans, the seeds don't talk, right? The seeds don't talk. So when we went with them, we got to live with them. We stayed with them, right? We woke up in the crack of dawn with them. Like, we lived the life of a campesino. We lived the life of a farmer. And, we got to see different crops that they've grown. They actually were able to, like, save, like, we saw the good and then we saw the bad, right? We saw the plants that were sick because they can get, what's it called? When the plants go bad? Oh my God, the plague. Right?
Oh, yes, the plague.
So there's also the bad side to it where they can lose a lot of their crop because of the plague, right? So, like, the rust that grows on the leaves, the coffee's not good anymore, and then they can damage other plants. So we were able to see the good and the bad with the campesinos, and they were able to also teach us how to prune the plants, right? How they do, and it's tedious work.
Yeah.
Right? It's consistent,
Literally
back
there
and
every
forth, back and
day,
forth,
all
right?
day.
The people that are working there, a good picker could pick anywhere between 600 to 1,000 pounds of cherries, right? We must have did like 50.
Yeah.
We didn't do as great, but we got to work alongside the good pickers. We got to work with the beginners in between, and then the experts, right? And then we were able to talk to them about their experience, and all of them come from a coffee background, right? Some of them had their own farm, but they lost it for whatever reason, and then they went to go work with another campesino. So we saw the unity too, right? We saw the unity that the campesinos had, and I was like, this is what we need to do.
There's a
Great, because
greater appreciation for their work.
yeah, you're seeing the effort.
Yeah.
And I want to go to this other question that I have, because now that your business is more established and you're growing and people know more about you, and now you're having this opportunity to share the background of your story right now that people are going to hear and know more and learn of the love that you have. I know that you have gone to do presentations, and what is it that you want people that are not from our culture to know when you go to these presentations or when you give them the coffee? What is something that you want them to learn or experience?
To be open-minded, right? To always try new things, right? Coffee is like food, right? You have to try a little bit of everything. And just sharing that experience with them, right? Knowing what goes on before the coffee comes to your table. So we want to be able to, have them be able to gain different experience, just not from Guatemala, but from different countries. We want to be able to educate them on how to drink coffee, because coffee also, people look down on it because they get the shakes and the hygiene. The coffee, all the bad things that media tries to portray on the coffee. So we also want to educate them on how to buy their coffee, and just be able to give them that kind of education so they can enjoy that experience and be able to continue to support, microlots, keep giving back to the people, right? If you buy coffee from us, you're not just buying coffee from us. You're not just buying an experience from us. You're buying somebody's livelihood. So I want them to always think about, where they're getting their coffee from, and making sure that they're making the right decision, and they're getting the best experience, right? They're not getting the shakes in the morning, or they're not getting the upset stomachs, right? So I just want to be able to have them learn, like, what OTB is not just about coffee. It's just we're about family. We're about unity. A lot of those things that people have lost in between the way now, right? Because we live in a fast-paced society. We want to give people that simplicity to go back to the basics, right? And just be able to take in a little bit of peace of mind in such a fast-paced world.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love your story, and it's very inspiring. I'm so happy, very proud of you guys for stepping up and learning all of this and doing all of this. And I can't wait to see where, everything goes and how you guys keep going. And we're here recording at Kai Visions, and I wonder if Claudio has a question for you guys.
So your coffee is delicious, man.
Thank you.
So you stole my questions from last time.
No, I didn't ask that. You asked one. She
remixed that.
She remixed it, yeah. What makes what separates your coffee? What differentiates your coffee from the thousands of well, I don't know if it's thousands. I think it's thousands. Thousands of other coffee brands that you see in the supermarket when you go and you see all the bags?
The freshness of the coffee, right? We roast to order, so we don't have any sitting inventory. So the coffee that you're getting was roasted a couple days before you receive the coffee. So that's what separates us from them, as far as like the end product. To get a little further into it, it's the direct relationships we have with the farmers, right? I can call the farmer right now and be like, hey, how are you? What's going on? How the plant's doing, But yeah, just the roasting, the freshness of the coffee, and the care that goes into it. So you're not going to get any molded coffee, right? Because mold, the mycotoxin, is what gives you the shakes, right? Caffeine is very strong, right? For some people, everybody's body's different. We all intake certain things differently, but there's no mold in our coffee.
Well, I remember there's something that you told me off camera.
Yeah.
That, first of all, I found incredibly interesting. I obviously did not know. And I want you to tell, the audience about this. You were explaining to me the roasts, like whether it's a light roast, a medium roast, or a dark roast.
Oh, yes.
And what actually has the most caffeine. When you said this, you blew my mind, because I've been, when I say trained, personally trained, to always go with the lightest roast that I can, because in my mind, I don't want a heavy coffee, a strong coffee. I'm already like not the biggest coffee drinker. And on top of that, I'm the kind of guy that likes it very milky. So I'm probably not the, a connoisseur of coffee. So I always get the lightest version. I like a lot of sugar. I like a lot of milk. Your drinks are probably going to be delicious, so I want to try those. But explain that. Explain the difference between the roasts.
Yes. So think about the roast like a steak, right? You're never going to eat a well-done steak. You're always going to get, no one eats a well-done steak, so no one's going to want to drink well-done coffee, right? Or burnt coffee. So if you want a lot of caffeine, you're going to go with a lighter roast, right? The lighter roast is always going to give you the max caffeine you can possibly have. Also, the downside to that is it's acidic. It's really acidic, but it gives you the boost that you need, depending on what you're looking for. The medium is the in-between, right? It's slightly acidic, has a lot of caffeine, not as much as the light roast, but it's going to also give you that kick. Now, when you get into the darker, right, when you get into the dark roast, it's not going to be as much caffeine, right? You're literally almost burnt out the entire caffeine part of the bean, right? Just like it's good steak. If you do it well done, there's no deliciousness to it. It's losing its flavor. So if you look at the beans, I call it the stream, right? So, or the Nile, depending on who I'm talking to, right? In between the bean, that's where the caffeine lies. So you can see it's always going to be lighter than the bean itself. And that's how you can depict how much, if it has caffeine or not. Or obviously you'll be able to see the roast as well. But darker roast, you won't be able to see the in between the bean, the little Nile that we spoke about. You won't be able to see any lightness at all. It's completely gone.
This is so wild. Like I first of all, I never knew this, and then when you told me, I was like, "What?" I'm always getting the lightest one, thinking is going to be the least potent, and it's the complete opposite. That is wild to me. On the darker roast, does the flavor is a little different? Is it because it's just bolder? Like what? Why is there such a big difference in the taste between like a light roast and a dark roast?
Yeah, it's going to be bolder for sure. Right, you're not drinking dark roast for the flavor. You're drinking it because people associate the caffeine with the strong taste. So that's why people always think that darker coffee is always stronger, because it has a stronger, more dominant taste than the lighter or a medium roast.
And that's just the result of the roasting process?
Yes, that's the result of the roasting process. And like that's why I made the analogy of the steak, right?
Yeah, no, it was perfect. I immediately got it.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's people out there not eating steaks well done, because you're absolutely right.
Treat your coffee the way you treat your steak, right? I would always say there's nothing wrong with drinking dark roast. Dark roast is more like if you want to have a coffee after 2 or 3 p.m., right? That's because it doesn't have a lot of caffeine and you'll still be able to go to sleep. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that they're a light or medium roast until they try a good dark roast. And all of a sudden now they're a dark roast drinker. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been lied to my whole entire life. And then some people who like the dark roast, they'll go to a lighter and a medium roast, right? We see it happen all the time with educating people and just giving out the samples, right? They really started to understand how coffee truly works, and now their whole thing about coffee was no longer it became like a hobby, right? It became a journey. Like, let me see what other coffees are out there. Let me try different roast from different coffees. Let me see what notes I can have. You know, we have people always emailing us and texting us like, you know, what grind is good for this, or how can I make this kind of coffee? Because every micro lot, or I should say every finca that people deal with, you know, it depends. Some are really good with like auto drip, right, which everybody has at home, or a pour over, right? The pour overs are more for like to bring out the true flavors of the coffee, more for like different process of the way that the coffee is grown, right? It's more like a specialty, a French press. Like, so different coffees have different ways to really bring out the flavors in them. So not every coffee is going to be meant for you know, for the same process of brewing. Right?
That is so interesting. This is so interesting. I got a question for both of you guys. Hope you guys are ready for this one.
Oh boy.
Answer in whichever order, or actually answer whatever comes to mind as quickly as you possibly can.
Okay.
Who is the best roaster of the two of you?
John.
Oh,
She answered
yeah. Who's the best barista of the two of you?
Ceci.
Me.
Oh, so it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's really
absolutely.
awesome.
She helps me out tremendously. Like, I can make a good drink, right? I'm a good sous chef, right? But if you really want the holy grail, you want to get the chef's kiss, it's definitely going to be her.
That's good to know.
She's the one that really brings out the flavors in the coffee. Even if you don't put any additives like sugar or anything like that, she gets the grind perfect.
And that's before the drink.
And yeah.
Like, I do the cupping
Yeah.
of the coffee.
Yes.
So when he roasts it, I brew it and then I cup it, and then I'm the one that distinguishes the flavor notes that you see on the bag.
Okay. So,
which is awesome.
Yeah,
because we get other people to come, right? We call people like, hey, come over, come cup, and they drop what they're doing, right? And these are non-coffee drinkers that we, you know, unfortunately made them into coffee drinkers, and they're like, all right, I'm coming right now, right? They'll stop what they're doing because that experience of cupping is like mind-blowing to people, because you really get to see your palate, right? Everybody's palate is different. So everybody writes different answers, and then it's interesting, right? And that's what like gets us going. It's like, oh, okay, we're on the right path of you know, executing what we want from the beans.
Yeah, I love that. If I were to order coffee from you, what would you recommend me ordering if I'm don't know much about coffee or different types?
Well, we want to know your history, right? Yeah. Like doctors, they want to know what you have. If you have any symptoms, like they want to know your history. So we start off by asking, like, you know, what kind of coffees are you into? What's your experience?
What do you usually do?
What do you usually do? Yeah, like how do you brew coffee?
Brew it?
Yeah, we ask you all the basic questions to get an understanding of what it is that you like. And, you know, sometimes we tell people like, we're not for you, you know, because everybody's different. And we're not afraid to tell somebody that, because we want everybody to have a true experience, right? We're not trying to capitalize on everybody that comes around. We're not for everybody, and we understand that. But we usually tell people, we usually ask all the questions, and then once we get all the information, all the honest information from people, then we'll let them know, like, hey, try this medium, and then try this dark, and then try a blend. So a lot of people may not like single origins, and they may like a blend. So like our Warriors Brew, right? People don't like dark, people don't like medium, but our blend, our signature blend, Warriors Brew, that we're planning on bringing back this year, people love that. And they're mind blown, because they're like, I can taste the dark, I can taste the medium, like I can taste everything, but I don't understand why I can't just drink a single origin, because it's different, right? Yeah. It's very different than a blend. A blend, we're getting different coffees together, different flavors. The aromas are different. The brewing style is almost all the same, like with a coffee maker, which everybody normally has. Yeah. But blends are usually good for people who can't decide which side they want to be on. You know,
that's good to know.
Yeah.
And do you like sweets with your coffee or cookies with your coffee?
Oh, it's a must.
Absolutely.
You know, it's absolutely you need. So I always like to tell people, not every pastry is for the type of coffee you're having, right? Yeah. So if you have a cappuccino, you might want to like croissant, right, or a heavy croissant, depending on the person, right? But not every pastry is for the cup. So if you're having like a regular cup of coffee, I say you could any pastry you like.
Because I brought alfajores. I don't know if you heard of this. These are melt-in-your-mouth cookies filled with dulce manjar that I make myself, and they are called Mary's alfajores. So I want you guys to try one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Is one the limit?
You can have more. I brought extra for you guys to
Here you go.
grab a cookie each.
Thank you.
And I like to have them with black coffee, no sugar. Is that the best?
Yes, no sugar.
Yes.
So true.
We
coffee,
always recommend first trying
Yes.
it black. No sugar, no milk. Just get into the coffee.
Yes.
See if you even like it, because we've converted so many people
to drinking black
to
coffee.
drink black coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, that they're mind blown. They're like, oh my god, I can't believe I was able to do this. And they're always, they're always standoffish. Like they're like, oh no, I can never do that. I've done that before, and oh my god, like I almost passed out. And I'm like, that's because you're not drinking OTB coffee.
Yeah.
You're not.
So try the cookie. And let me know
absolutely.
which one. So it's Mary's alfajores. You can find it on Instagram, and I like these with coffee, black coffee, because allows me to taste better, everything. So I'm excited for you guys to try it and recommend me a coffee that I could have when I'm having my alfajores, because you know more about this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go with our medium roast.
Medium roast?
Go with the medium roast.
Okay.
Yes, it's gonna give you the nice level flavor. It's gonna be balanced, and the sweetness of the coffee is the mixture. So when you take the bite and you take a little sip, it's pure magic. I can't even explain it to you. You just have to have that
Yeah,
experience.
it's a good combo.
That's a great combo. Always with a sweet pastry, you always want to go with a lighter roast. I believe, right? I believe when you go with a darker roast,
You don't want it to overpower
Okay.
the pastry.
You don't want it to overpower the pastry. You want to be able to take in both flavors from, the pastry and the coffee. The dark roast, you can put milk in if you want in it, right?
Okay.
Just to not have the pastry, you can add a little bit of milk to it. But our coffee is good, just black. And I always recommend people to drink it the true natural way.
This. Yeah. No, this is great to know, because I love having my alfajores with coffee. That's the best part. So where can people find you, and tell us, where are you located, or how does it work? Where can people get your coffee from?
On thebrew.com if you want to purchase beans, freshly roasted, or on Instagram, we are on thebrew.coffeeco. Our link to the site to order is on there, but you can also see where we are doing events, or if you want to just contact us to do an event, that's okay. We have some news coming up, which if you follow us on Instagram, you'll be able to see what we have coming up. And
but you heard it here first.
That's exciting.
We're coming to a city near you.
Yeah, that's exciting.
If people
Can't
can
wait.
connect the dots, people will definitely know where we will be stationed, and we'll be able to have. We'll be able to share the experience with people 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
that's exciting.
So that's
I'm
coming
excited
soon.
for you guys. Is there a message you would like to tell someone that's starting a business or sees difficulties but wants to start something, and they want to feel they're inspired by your story?
Yeah, absolutely.
don't give up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds
right?
cliche, but seriously.
Don't give up. Yeah, absolutely. Don't give up. I may go different directions with this answer just because I want to say so much, but I'll try to keep it short.
The last message.
So, yeah, absolutely. Don't give up. Find a way. There's a way. You're just not stepping back and looking. There is a way. Stop what you're doing. It's okay to stop. I know society tells you, no, you got to keep going. Yeah. Every minute counts. All this. But if you have that tunnel vision, how can you see what you're passing?
Right.
So always remember that there is a brake that you can press on, and sometimes you just need to park it and realize what is it that you need, what do you have. Start eliminating certain things that you don't need to have a focus on. It's already set in stone, and when you do that, you'll be able to find all the answers that you need. Don't give up. There's a way. If no one wants to give you a way, make a way. And absolutely don't ever quit, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much doubt may creep up to you, or what anybody says, right? Because there's going to be a lot of Debbie Downers out there. And, you know, God gave you this vision. God gave you this purpose. And God is always going to equip you with what you need. And he's never going to let you down. So always remember that God gives you what you want. So you get what you need, but he also gives you what you need, so you get what you want. And when you have that kind of mentality, nothing's going to stop you. Don't let nobody stop you. It doesn't matter if you end up alone. And this road is a lonely road. I'm appreciative that I have someone to take a ride with me. But for those people who are alone, don't worry. There's so many like you out there. You just need to find them, right? Don't be afraid to network, right? I'm coming over my fright stage, just being here, being able to do this. Don't be afraid to do things that you're comfortable with, right? Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So don't doubt yourself. Give it a shot, and have that verbiage, right? That positivity in your mind. Always continue to remain positive, right? It's hard to be positive, but what you're doing is already hard. So you're already in the game. Just keep going.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm very happy that I got to talk to you guys and hear your story, and can't wait to see what this year brings for you guys. So thank you, everyone. I hope that you got inspired by this conversation. This is Story of From the Ground Up, because it is literally a from the ground up story. And I want to say thank you to Claudio and Calle Visions for allowing us to have this conversation at the studio. So if you're looking to record a podcast, this is the best place to do it. So I'm very happy. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Spotify and Apple. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, follow, subscribe, and leave us a review, as your feedback continues to help us grow this podcast. If you have any questions or would like to connect, we are on Instagram at From the Ground Up with Esther, or you can email us at esthermoscoso.pod@gmail.com. This episode is brought to you by Calle Visions, a full-service podcast and content studio in Stamford, Connecticut. And as always, thank you to our show sponsor, Mary's Alfajores, delicious sweet treats that melt in your mouth. I will see you on the next episode.